Hello and welcome back to Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield. Alongside me, head coach Jake Russell. Coming off of a bye week, the Tigers are 6-0, and there's a little movement there in the top 25. You don't have to play. That always feels pretty good. You move up the ranks when you don't have to play. The Tigers now go out of receiving votes to number 25, but there was quite a shakeup this week, or this past week, in the scoreboards and in the top 25. Bethel lost to Cumberland, Tennessee, which now kind of adds, I suppose, to the win that we have over Cumberland, Tennessee, makes that win look perhaps a little bit better. And then Lindsey Wilson lost to the University of the Cumberlands, who's now receiving votes, but Lindsey Wilson drops out altogether now that they're 3-2, so a big shakeup amongst the top 25 in the Mid-South Conference.
Yeah, I've been telling people that our resume at the end of the year is going to look a lot better than it does at the time, or at the time of the win. You know, you've got U-Pike, who I think has a really good shot to finish undefeated in their conference and go to the playoffs. I think Bluefield's got a great shot to accumulate a lot of wins down the stretch here in their conference. Obviously, Cumberland, Tennessee, and our staff was kind of telling people, you know, Cumberland, Tennessee is the real deal. They're really good. They run the ball well, play really physical defense, and so you know, maybe a little surprising, but definitely not shocked by any means by their victory over Bethel. You know, it was a home game, maybe even homecoming for them, and it's a great win for Coach Mathis. You know, obviously, you know, in theory, makes our resume look better with our victory over them. But we play in the best conference in NAIA football, and there's literally no easy wins in our conference, and that's what we're trying to tell our guys. That's what we're trying to, you know, communicate with them, that every week you're going to go up against a great test. Lindsey Wilson obviously coming off a tough loss, a game that, you know, they had the chances to win. But, you know, going into Cumberland's, Kentucky and playing them at their home place is never an easy thing to do. Obviously, we'll end our season probably with a lot on the line going there, and, you know, it'll be another great test for us. But, yeah, getting into the rankings is an awesome deal. Kind of just encourages our guys. It gets them excited. You know, we've kind of been using the disrespect in the rankings a little bit as fuel and motivation. Well, now we're ranked, and now we've got to stay hungry with that, right? The goal of this season was not to be ranked in the top 25. The goal of this season was to be a conference champion, go to the playoffs, and compete for a national title. So these are just byproducts of those goals, and hopefully we continue to climb in those rankings over the next 5 weeks.
So the Tigers 6-0. They had 6 games. You get to recuperate a little bit after a big game at home, and you head out onto the road for Lindsey Wilson coming up this Saturday. But what's a bye week look like for this team as they get to kind of settle in? They don't have a game. What's that look like for them?
Yeah, so we had some discipline running yesterday, and usually the mood in those runs, especially on a Monday, which is a day we're usually not on the field, is a little bit down. You know, nobody's really excited to run, especially for discipline purposes. But our guys had a lot of energy yesterday. The guys looked fresh physically, and that's the goal of the bye week, right? They get almost 4 full days off. A lot of guys were able to go home for the first time since fall camp started. Even a lot of the staff was able to get home, see family, or get out of the city of Campbellsville, which in season you almost never do. And so everybody's, you know, feeling refreshed, feeling good. And I think the goal of the bye week was definitely accomplished.
So what were some of the bigger things that I think you feel you most accomplished in that bye week?
Yeah, just probably a reset for the guys mentally, right? So the bye week for us came at a perfect time. 1, it was pretty much the halfway point of our season, right? And then 2, came on fall break, so that was great as well. We practiced Thursday morning at 6 a.m., did our weights right after. So really everybody in the program by 10 a.m. on Thursday morning was done for the week and the weekend. And so guys started going their different places or really settled down. Didn't have class to worry about over the next couple of days. I think most of the midterms were last week before fall break, so you get a little reprieve academically as well. So now it's almost like a reset, right? We've obviously built a ton and laid a great foundation for these final 5 weeks. And, you know, I think that was the big thing we accomplished was, okay, guys, over this, you know, 3 or 4 day break that you have during the bye week, I want you to really think about, you know, what do you really want this season to be, right? What do you want the 2024 team to be remembered for? Do you want this to be a team that comes back and gets honored at halftime for being a champion? Do you want this to be a team that does some first things ever in program history, you know, win a national championship, host a playoff game, be undefeated. All those things that are still obtainable for us that, haven't been the case 6 weeks into the year for Campbellsville in the past, even, this time last year, or other teams around the country. And I think our guys, just watching them yesterday do something that, really not a fun part of playing the game, be energized, be fresh, be, talking, be encouraging, all those things, and kind of seeing, the attention and the focus. You could see that they're very hungry to do those things over the last 5 weeks.
Do you ever feel like or get maybe a little nervous when you come out of a bye week headed in to even such a big game that, you might have a little bit of, I don't want to call it lag, but just trying to get started and reboost those engines up? Is that ever a concern, and how might you help combat that throughout the week?
Yeah, you see these programs in college football or in the NFL that say, man, they always struggle coming off a bye week. So we worked really hard as a staff to figure out the perfect formula of how do we practice on the bye week. So we had, a little bit of different practice schedule in our bye week, where Tuesday was in helmets, where that's usually like a very physical, full padded days, but that was to give them a little extra rest on the body after 6 straight weeks of playing college football. But Wednesday and Thursday at 6 a.m., those were full padded, very physical. We did some things like inside run, which is just a very physical. There's no option to throw the ball, so it's smash mouth football and things like that, to really make sure that we were keeping that mindset during the bye week. Because I think sometimes it's easy to say, there's no game Saturday, I can kind of relax, kick my feet up. And even as a staff, you can do that, right? But man, I think I told you last week, I came in last Sunday, the Sunday of our bye week, after the Cumberland, Tennessee game, and you'll probably expect that, hey, it's the bye week, a lot of the coaches will actually wait till Monday, and over half the staff was in the office. And I'm like, okay, these guys are hungry, and that's going into our players, and our players are motivating us and seeing how they're practicing every day. And I really have no concern with this group. I think some groups maybe you would, but with our group, I really don't.
From a coaching staff perspective, how big is a bye week maybe for you guys?
Yeah, it's huge. I don't think you can possibly understand the time, the sacrifice, probably more than anything, the emotional commitment to 150 young men and everything they're going through. And we face things, anytime there's that many people involved, our young men go through things. We've had young men in our program lose parents this year, lose siblings, go through serious things at home that nobody will ever know about, right? They show up on Saturday and see number whatever go out there and make a play or don't make the play. They have no clue what that young man's been through at this point. And, as coaches, to get a few days off, like even myself was able to get out of town, take my kids to see their grandparents, and really spend a little bit of time not thinking about Campbellsville football. Obviously, was watching a ton of football, love college football, but it was definitely a good reset for us as well. I mean, I just individually, and talking to our staff over the last couple of days, we do feel refreshed, but we were also really hungry to get back. We obviously saw some of the things that shook out in the conference, and kind of see the door opening for, a great run to a conference championship here.
Well, we're going to go ahead and give you a break and step aside, and we'll be back on Under Center with Jake Russell.
Jason, let's go see your room.
No, that's not right. How is it? Is it good?
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back to Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield. Alongside me for this second segment is athletics video coordinator Zach Wilson. Zach, you and I work alongside each other constantly. I'm the assistant athletics video coordinator, but when it comes to football, I kind of take a step away from the behind the scenes and step behind the mic and the camera. But everything else we do side by side: soccer, volleyball, baseball, softball. I mean, everything that you can think of that we stream, we're in charge of, we help do. So talk to us a little bit about, I guess, what that's like, and talk to us about the program that we run.
Yeah, like you said, we work together hand in hand with a lot of the sports that we do here on campus. Pretty much every sport that we can stream and we're able to stream, we do, with the exception of a few that, the facilities just aren't set up for a streaming platform to where we can, put a broadcast out. So, we try to split our coverage as much as we possibly can with several different sports. Obviously, during the season, it's tough to juggle sometimes. You've got multiple events going on campus on the same day at once. So sometimes our manpower is kind of split differently between different venues and different athletic events. But we do multiple events throughout the year. I think last year we totaled at like 152, 153 events total for the year. So we do a lot with all the different sports on campus.
Now you talk about our manpower. Who's our manpower? Because that's probably the biggest part and probably the thing we're most proud of as it comes to our program.
Yeah, so everything we do is student-led here with, the CU Sports Network. You and I kind of oversee all of that with our student broadcasts, but everything from the director position to running the cameras to running audio in the control room, all of that is student ran. So we take a lot of pride in that because our goal is to, train these students up to where they're the ones handling the broadcast for the most part. We see everything going on behind the scenes, and we lead them in the right direction, teach them what to do in certain scenarios, but for the most part they're the ones running the show. And so the entire purpose of that is for them to gain experience and keep growing with their knowledge in broadcast and be able to take that and go out into the real world after they get done here and take that next step of going to work in places like news studios, any kind of sports broadcasting situation. That's what our goal is to get them to that next step.
There's guys like Brandon Bagwell, who now works basically through all of Tennessee sports.
Right.
He works camera ops for them. I can think of some other guys that now work for, WDRB up in Louisville, working for Wave, working for WBKO in Bowling Green. They're across the state. They're in other states, and they're doing a lot of stuff as it comes to sports broadcasting, and that starts right here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the entire purpose, is to get these kids to a place to where they can go out, and as soon as they step into that job field, that they can go and get a job anywhere. And like you mentioned, Brandon, he's done a great job. He's working with multiple professional teams. He does a lot of stuff with the Grizzlies, the Titans. So shout out to him. I mean, he's taken what he knew and learned and grew in his experience and field here, and he's taken that to a professional level. And that's the entire purpose. At the end of the day, what we do is to help these students gain knowledge and gain the experience so they can go out and succeed on their own.
As it pertains to the YouTube channel and everything that goes on, what has some of that been able, or what has that allowed us to do now that we've kind of switched away and went to a paywall? That has helped us quite a bit in terms of our program and our coverage.
Absolutely. I mean, switching to that paywall has allowed us to put money back into the program. So obviously what we do requires equipment that is not cheap. And, we have to constantly keep building that equipment up to make the broadcast better and better every single year, right? So the equipment's not cheap. The paywall allows us to take that money and invest it into the equipment, make it better every single year, while also putting some money back in our students' pockets. You know, it's not cheap to pay these students to work every single ball game. So, you know, in order to have these streams to where we produce for all these sports, we have to be able to pay our students. And that paywall is allowing us to take that money and not only better our broadcasts, but also make our students happy with paying them.
So we definitely appreciate your support as you all purchase in and buy into this program through your purchase of the Campbellsville Tiger YouTube page subscriptions. That means a lot. It helps a lot. So you work with almost every sport on this campus. What's that like, juggling all these different all these different sports, and each looks a little bit different? That's not the same. Each sport has its own thing. There are different stats. There's different things to look for. So what's that like when you try to juggle it with these students?
Well, I think one thing that's really been a positive for me is it's kind of broadened my knowledge of every sport. So coming in, you know, I was a big football, baseball, basketball fan. Now I get to work hand in hand with these different sports like volleyball, you know, swimming, stuff like that, to where soccer as well, you know, to where I've been a fan of it growing up and, you know, learning all these sports. However, now I get to see like the ins and outs of it, you know, working with the coaches of trying to, how do I make their broadcast better? You know, wrestling is something I really knew nothing about coming into working here. And, you know, now that we've worked several of their broadcasts in their events, like, it's kind of helped me adapt and learn, and also learn what I need to do to help make the broadcasts better. So overall, just general knowledge with the sports has been great. But as far as working with the teachers, or excuse me, coaches and stuff, you know, it's helped me because, you know, we learn what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. And while we have our set standards of what we want the broadcast to look like, we kind of take their, you know, suggestions and stuff and mold that into one big, you know, clay product. And we try to turn that and flip that and turn it into what we want the broadcast to look like. So
one of our vice presidents, Andy Woods, was in the building earlier, and he was asking me, you know, how's the year been so far? Has it been busy? Yeah, every now and again we get some busy spots, but it really hasn't been too bad. Fall's not terrible usually, but we're coming up on the busy part. It's crossover season. Basketball goes. We've got 2 different studio shows going. We've got all of our fall sports now intermingling with winter sports. So, I mean, how busy does that get?
Oh, it gets very busy with crossover season. You know, you've got multiple stuff overlapping and events that'll be, you know, 3-4 events on the same day. So that makes it very busy time and very hectic. One thing I guess that's been helpful is, even though it's unfortunate some teams dropped out of the conference, it's kind of freed up a little bit of the schedule to where we're not playing many double headers and, you know, games on the same day. So it's kind of helped out with the schedule in that regard. But crossover season, it's a different story. So yeah, it's a very tough time. It's hard to manage sometimes, but, you know, we do our best to get everything squared away and taken care of.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by and taking the time to talk.
Thank you.
We'll be back with Under Center with Jake Russell.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host and voice of Tiger football, Collin Sheffield. Alongside me for the final segment is head coach Jake Russell. Coach Russell, it's a big week. It's the Battle of Highway 55. We all know what that entails. And now there's been a little bit of a shakeup. I think what we all thought was probably going to be around a top 25 matchup still sort of is. Lindsey Wilson obviously still a very good team, even at 3-2. They've had, a decent loss there against University of the Cumberlands, going on the road and having to play them at their home. But now you all are number 25. They're out. So they're going to be coming probably with a little bit of revenge in their mindset too into this already heated rivalry.
Yeah, definitely maybe a different scenario than would have thought even a few weeks ago. Obviously, with their second loss, they're in a situation where, winning out almost guarantees them to be in the playoffs. And so they're going to be, preaching that to their guys, that their back's kind of up against the wall in a way. But they're a great program. They're not nervous or scared by their situation. Having a couple losses. They've been through this. They're a team that's regularly been in the playoffs. They've been one of the best NAI football programs over the last decade plus, been places where we're trying to go. And Coach Kleckler, has done a great job. He's a defensive-minded head coach. Their defense is awesome. They've got one of the better defenses in the nation. Their offense is doing some good things, getting better, trying to find their rhythm as well. And then they're really good special teams-wise. I was, just telling somebody that in our conference you can feel the coaching get better, right? And so the special teams, the discipline, the play calling, all that stuff, the game planning on, they're watching our film just like we're watching their film. That stuff gets a lot better as we get into conference play. And that's a great challenge for our staff. It's a great challenge for our guys. 6 games into the year, especially in conference, there's no secrets about what we're doing. There's not a lot of secrets about what they're going to do. And it's really, best man wins, and a team that can prepare and practice the best has got a really good shot. But yeah, now maybe for the first time in a while, and definitely for the first time in a while in this game specifically, we're the higher ranked team. And so, we kind of have the target on our back. But this is a really fun game. My first game ever here was against Lindsey Wilson on Thursday night, and it was super fun. Then, the last time we had the chance to win was my senior year here against them. And I think for any great rivalry, both teams need to be really good and winning a little bit both ways. And I think now we have the opportunity to do that.
On 3 sides of the football, obviously you have offense, defense, special teams. This special teams, it's not too long ago that I can remember that one of the bigger differences in the game, called that game, was a punt return touchdown. And this team is one of the nation's leading in return. But, of course, we've got a great special teams coordinator and co-special teams coordinator with Atwood and Coach Beatty as well. So, I don't know how you game plan for guys that are so electric on returning. What kind of goes through your head on things like that?
Yeah, just practicing full speed reps of special teams in practice throughout the week is a big deal. Special teams it's just a little different beast. It's hard to practice 11-on-11 live special teams just because of how chaotic each special teams is, especially kickoff return, but also, punt and punt return in itself. So, we've got to do a great job being very disciplined, right? Special teams is not something that most people, young men, say, I want to go to college and be a great special teams player for Campbellsville University. And so getting those guys to buy into this is going to impact and possibly win or lose the game. And I think our staff has done a phenomenal job of that. Coach Beatty's got great passion for special teams. Coach Atwood, Coach Bryson, formerly a special teams coordinator, at this level. Those guys have done a great job getting their guys to buy in. I think our guys are starting to see that just by having clean and good special teams has made a difference in the year already. And what we're trying to get our guys to do is, hey, create game-winning and momentum-changing plays on special teams. And sometimes that's not a touchdown return or a block kick. There was a play against Cumberlands where we had a great punt, and they had a very talented punt returner, and Pat Oden makes a great tackle and we flipped the field completely. And that was a huge play in that game that nobody's talked about since the game because they want to talk about the pick six and the touchdown pass and the interception. But those little hidden plays in special teams really do make the difference. And this, as you said, will be a great challenge against one of the best special teams units in the nation.
And Phil Kleckler, of course, he shifted over from being the defensive coordinator into the head coach position. And this defense is stout. They're only allowing 33 rush yards a game to their opponents through 5 games. That's pretty good. Offensively, you know, they are learning, but as I was looking through the chart of who's playing and who's not, this team doesn't look as deep as I remember in terms of age. It seems like in years past it's a lot of redshirt seniors, graduate students, and this year it seems to be a lot more, you know, sophomores sprinkled through there. They just seem to be a little bit younger.
Yeah, well, Coach Kleckler is kind of going through the same thing that our program is going to go through over the next couple of years. Obviously, Coach Oliver left Lindsey Wilson 3 seasons ago, had Lindsey Wilson built up as one of the best programs in the nation. Coach Kleckler has done a great job just picking up where he left off. And now they're kind of cycling through, you know, the guys that Coach Oliver was bringing in and his staff, and now the type of program and the players that Coach Kleckler wants to recruit, which a lot of those will be the same, right? But the same thing will be with us. We had a great group of guys here. We were able to bring a pretty decent number of guys with us, and all those guys in a year or two, we will kind of cycle through and now build our program through, you know, our freshman classes. And so in a couple of years, we're going to be a lot younger as well. And so those are the natural cycles of college football. Those are definitely the natural cycles of a head coaching change. But while they are young, they do have a ton of talent. Like you said, they've got some explosive playmakers all over the field, offensively in the kick return game. And then defense, man, they've got unlimited length and speed. They are extremely fast defense. They are extremely long. They create a lot of havoc, and they just almost, you know, minimize passing lanes with how long they are in the secondary and in the second level at their linebackers as well.
What are the keys for the Tigers as they go on the road in the Battle of Highway 55 to coming out of there with a victory?
Yeah, we've got to win the turnover battle. They're a defense that does a great job of forcing turnovers. They played Faulkner a few weeks ago, and Faulkner was moving the ball pretty decent against them for as good as their defense is, and then they got back-to-back pick sixes on defense, and all of a sudden the game is completely different. They forced a ton of turnovers. They create a lot of negative plays, and they don't give up a lot of explosive plays. Protecting the football, getting turnovers on our side, and then we've got to find ways to create explosive plays down the field. And when I say down the field, an explosive play is always not a super long pass. It can be a short pass or a run that is blocked well and done really well, and that creates an explosive play. So whoever has the most explosive plays and wins the turnover battle probably got a really good shot to win the game. And then as you mentioned, I think we'll look back on the game and say, because we won the special teams battle, that was the difference that got us over the edge.
Well, Coach, best of luck this weekend. Can't wait to be down there.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Tigers traveled down the Highway 55 for the Battle of Highway 55 in Columbia, Kentucky. That game is set for 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central Time. Be sure to make the trek, drive down there to Columbia. Be loud, be proud. But if you can't, be sure to join us on 88.7 The Tiger or on the TuneIn app, and you just look up 88.7 The Tiger, and myself and Khalil Baker will have all coverage for that. So be sure to tune in, and be sure to tune in next week for Under Center with Jake Russell.